Hey, you guys, we're live. This is Creative Solutions, and today this is going to be a deep topic. So I'm gonna have a heavy one on for you guys today. This is going to be a little bit heavy. So I'm going to be talking about growing up with West Indian parents, and so I'm going to talk about my experience, and especially I'm going to talk about the other people who I grew up with and their experiences. And so you guys, so stay tuned. This is about growing up with West Indian parents. And before we kick off the show, I think we should start with some positive music first and foremost. So, all right, you guys, listen up and hope you enjoy it. Okay, we're back. I'm sorry, I was struggling. I was like, the music was not playing. I was like, what happened? And then I figured it out though. So anyway, we're back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that song. It's all about stepping forward and moving forward. It is a soca artist, and it's one of my favorite songs. So before we begin, I'm gonna drop the intro. Okay, so we're back and we are live. All right, you guys, I'm going to be talking about growing up with West Indian parents, and I'm just going to talk about some of the things that went on in my household and some of the things some West Indian people can relate to. And yeah, so we're going to have a discussion about it. I know some of you guys could relate to it. If you guys could relate, you guys could hop in the comments. But yeah, so this is gonna be an interesting topic. Feel free to chat. You know. Okay. So as we see here, this is like a picture of, the islands. When you think about the islands, you think about, paradise, somewhere nice and sweet. You laying down, you eating some coconuts, you drinking some coconut water. You having fun with all your friends and your family. It's a great place to go party. But behind all of that, those people who really knows. There's a lot of trauma growing up in West Indian households. A lot. And first and foremost, I didn't know, like, at first I kind of, like, took it against my parents, but another part of me wanted to understand why and what happened. So there was a slavery, in the West Indies, first and foremost. So I just wanted to point that out, and this could be for some of the reasons of why things were happening there. So a lot of our parents and our grandparents, they went through a lot of traumatizing experiences. And some things that I can't really, sit there and relate to, but hearing them speak in the way they treat one another and the things that they say, you can really tell it's really depressing. So I really wanted to point that out, as you can see here in the photo. So a lot of them have like a very poor way of thinking, and yeah, it's really bad. So first and foremost, so my grandmother. So this is a picture of the kind of like the a little bit of the poverty. In the West Indies, not everywhere is really nice and stellar. There's places that are poor. You got like iron houses, that's put up. So this is another photo of that, as we can see right here. And these people, they're trying to make it, they go out, they fetch their water, they grow their vegetation in the back. I mean, for the most part, it's natural, habitat, natural living. It's not up to date as if you were here in the States, but they made a good source of living. I think that the only things that really made it hard was growing up with the mentality, especially coming from slavery and coming from those hard times of working on the fields and having that dog eat dog mentality. It really, really did a turn on us. And here's another picture of a really nice house in the West Indies. This is in Trinidad, but this is a really nice house. They have very nice houses in Trinidad, believe it or not. Like, people build them up and they look really nice. And then on the other side, there's really poor houses. But this is a really nice house. They got, gates and everything up, and they're quite expensive. And that's another thing I want to talk about. But first, I want to talk about, some of the pain and the trauma. And I think it's the same as what a lot of people are dealing with here in the States, especially if your grandmother. So I know, first and foremost, right, my grandmother, she was married at a very young age to an older man. So, and she was taken advantage of, right? And you know how you have your family members, they all tell you you should go, you should marry him, he's a good man and whatnot. In this particular situation, that's what happened to her. And she had 9 kids. Imagine having 9 kids and you're with this guy, and you have been with him for a very long time since you had these children. And my grandmother was a spiritual Baptist. There's a lot of spiritual Baptists in Trinidad and all over the islands. That's one of the most known religions there. There's lots of religions, but this is one of the foremost is a spiritual Baptist. Hey Camo. Hey Big J. Hey Henry Mars. So yeah, so she grew up with this, she had to take care of 9 kids, 9 of them. And he went and he left her. He left her when she had like when all the children were small, like 6, 7. I think the she had 9 kids and he left when the oldest child was like 12, 13. So just imagine that. Like she had to struggle and take care of those 9 kids all alone. So it was hard for her too. And you know what? I don't think people understand, but you tend to take out some of your things, some of the stuff that you're dealing with, you take it out onto your children. And it becomes a never ending situation that continues to go on, generation after generation. And sometimes you got to catch these cycles before it replays in your universe, in your galaxy. So, anywho, so she had 9 kids. He left her. She had to fend to take care of those 9 kids. And most of her children was girl children. And I heard some very disturbing things. She would tell her girl children, she would kick them out at the age of 14. 14 years old. Imagine being 14 years old in the islands and you're being told that, you can't live in this household. You need to be working. You need to go figure it out on your own. So my aunts, they will have to leave the house as early as 14, 15, 16 to go make a way from themselves. And then her 2 boy children, she would favor them the most. So I had 3 uncles. One which is still in the States, I'm happy he's in the States over here. So I have 3 uncles, two of them which, two of them passed away. And it was I don't know, two of them passed away. One of them was in jail and the other one had AIDS. Well, I was very fortunate to meet one of them when I went back home. So anyhow, so she had these 9 kids. She favored her boy children more than her girl children. And she never like, put the love or instill things into her girl children. So a lot of her girl children came to the States and they were really broken. And I don't know if you guys know. Imagine having to leave a household at 14, 15 years old and having to find a man who's going to take care of you. And sometimes you have to stay with these older men that you didn't want to be with. It's very hard and it's very devastating. And they would have to like go through this because they had to try to make a way because they couldn't go back to their mom's house. So it was a lot of stuff, dealing with all of that craziness, like, and they had this trauma sitting with them, and they would take it out on the children now. They relatively didn't know that because they're just acting it out. Sometimes you don't really know. You're just doing what you're taught, and the way you're being treated when you were younger, you're going to do the same thing to your kids. So basically, that is what was happening. So so yeah, this was just crazy, just craziness that was going on. So they all left home pretty young. They all had to live with partners who they didn't really want to be with to try to make a way in life. Some of them finally made a way and finally, got to go to the States and make a new life for themselves. And then they finally get here and it's a whole nother struggle because yes, we did have family here in the States, but the family here in the States, they required you to have some kind of income or something. You couldn't just lay up in somebody's house and but it's how are you supposed to get all of that if you're not coming to the States for the first time? So I want to say I couldn't probably go through the things that they went through. It will be very hard and devastating not to have a support system, but try to make it, out of somewhere. That's just making it out of the gutter. Like that is so hard. So I just wanted, to bring awareness and bring attention to that. This is something that needs to be talked about. And I don't think they noticed that, but when I went down to go see them, a lot of them, they still act like they are still stuck in a mindset that they are like 13, 14, 15 years old. They still haven't gotten over the trauma that really hit them when they were younger. You know, a lot of them didn't really get poured into when they were younger. They did not have, when you have a mother and she buys you a dress and she tells you look pretty and you're a princess, they didn't really have that soft touch to them. So they had to go out there and they had to go get it. Like, and you can't really get mad at them because we are here and we have to try to make a living, in this world. So by any means necessary. So, in some cases, I was just a little bit mad, but then after a while, I had to turn around and look at it and be like, they had to, try to make a living here. Some of them tried, some of them didn't, but they were still, a lot of them really wanted that attention that they never got from their mom. They never got that love, that admiration. So in a some way, their all of their cups was halfway empty. Yeah, so they come here and their cups were halfway empty. So just think about it. And this is what I was like thinking about. And this is how this has become into I want to say a generational curse, but because someone was able. Oh, send me to replay. I'm replaying it. I'm just saying, just because someone was able, right, to make it out in this world with only a few crumbs, a few crumbs. Think about it. Somebody was just made from a few crumbs, a little bit of effort, right? Somebody was giving you a couple of grains of rice and they tell you you need to make the best out of it. Someone is only giving you a little fraction of love, right? But you got to make the best out of it. You got to figure it out. Someone is giving and telling you you got to figure something out. Just imagine that. I don't That's really hard. And you fast forward to today, right? A lot of my cousins, um some of my aunts, they have a hard time having relationships. And the thing is because they have been breadcrumbed when it comes to love, attention, and having somebody in their life. They have been breadcrumbed with that because their father wasn't there. Their mother didn't really give them that motherly love. So they wasn't really given a full cup, and then they are expected to go out in the world and flourish. It's very hard for you to do that. I mean, some of my aunts, they did flourish, but they still walk around with a little bit of trauma and uneasiness. And a lot of them, they're still stuck in the mind. They haven't gone past the threshold, or they haven't gone past being able, to be grateful. I would say they are grateful, but they haven't gone past to the fact that they are able to have love. Like, they are able to have an actual relationship, something that's real. Like, I don't think that they think that they deserve that because they never been given that. So yeah, so they were breadcrumbs, right? And I think this is what we have to look at, because a lot of West Indian parents, right? They give to everybody except to their kids. They give to their sisters, they give to their uncles, they give to their brothers, their sisters, their moms, but they always neglect their kids. Always. They always neglect their kids. Their kids is the last thing that they think about. And then on top of that, they ask their kids also for something that they need, but they always neglect them when they are growing up. So I have seen that a lot of times. Like, a lot of West Indian parents, right? They send all of this stuff back home to their other sisters, their nieces. They send all of these things back home to them. Somebody said polygam is allowed in the islands. I don't know about that. I don't know a lot of women who are into that polygamy stuff. To be honest, I'm gonna be straight up with you. They not into that. No. So yeah, so that's what was happening. So a lot of these West Indian parents, they neglect their kids until they get older, and then they learn the true value. A lot of them, they go and they do all these things for other people, but they don't know how to treat themselves, put themselves first, or their kids first. So, and these are some of, the effects of being breadcrumb, not growing up with love, having a support system, being guided, you know, having have somebody to have your back. Henry Moss just asking if it was allowed. I don't think anybody is biased to that. There's no law saying that you could or you can't do polygamy, but I don't think a lot of people are in favor of that. These men are crazy too. They do what they want and they be crazy and everything. But I don't know. That's their business. To be honest, for every guy who I've seen who does not do a woman right, they always end up in the gutter. They always end up in a bad situation. When you never treat a woman right and you try to get off or you try to get by or you try to do things, it never ends up good in your favor. I'm just saying. So so yeah, moving on. So yeah, that's what I mean. I wanted to talk about how a lot of these West Indian parents, and a lot of women, we have been fed breadcrumbs, and that's what we're used to. So, and that's why some of these men don't have standards. Is because we were never poured into, we were never loved, right? And with that being said, we don't know how to set our standards high. We don't know how to ask that from the other person. We don't know how to set our demands. And so when people walk into our lives, we end up what doing? People pleasing. We end up doing all of these things for the opposite sex, but we don't get nothing back in return. And I think that's what a lot of, West Indian women are used to. Some of them, I'm not saying all. I'm saying a large amount, who haven't, been who haven't had their cup filled when they were younger. That's what they're used to. So they will go into these relationships that do not is not in the favor of them. And so yeah. This whole polygamy thing, I am not a fan of that, but whatever. I don't think a lot of West Indian women are a fan of that, I mean, West Indian women, they are, they're sexually liberated, as you can say, but they say that through their songs. But I think for the most part, they dress pretty classy, and they're not into those type of things. But yeah, yeah. So that's what we want to talk about: being breadcrumbs, you know. And if you are a parent, I just wanted to say, make sure you are pouring into your kids. Make sure you are getting up every day and you are showing up the best way you can. You know, a lot of things that I don't really like is that, when parents turn around and they judge you when you ask for help, or they judge you in typical situations, and some of the things I don't like about that is because if the tables was turned, right? And let's switch it, and at my age, right? What were you doing? And those are the questions I would ask them. What did you do? How did you make it by? Who helps you? And a lot of them cannot answer those questions. So I just, and another thing, if you have grown children, right, and they call you, maybe they need help, or maybe they having a, tough day, or you see something, the the first thing you should do is pour into them. And I'm not saying you probably like, what do? I don't know how to pour into them. You probably can say something like this, like, I know what you're going through. This too shall pass. I've been through things like that, and I overcame it, and you're strong. I believe in you. I know you can do it. I have overcame things like that, and when I was growing up, and I know you can too. Okay, and then what else I wanted to talk about? So let's talk about healing. So as you can see, a lot of these parents they put a lot of their pain out on their kids. They don't know how to treat, some certain family members. Some of them don't know how to interact with people. They always, this is how trauma shapes us, obviously, and some of them haven't been healed. So I think the best way, sometimes you got to take a break away from family because you need to make your own paradise where you're at. You need to have a surroundings. You need to have an environment that's able for you to heal, able for you to grow, able for you to be your authentic self. If you cannot do that with your family, that's probably not a good thing. You probably need to take a break so you can be your authentic self, and then maybe you can come around them. But who wants to come around an environment that's not conducive? Nobody wants to be around that. So that's another thing that I wanted to say also. Another reason why some kids don't talk to their parents is because sometimes their parents or the other family members, have this particular view about them. This is what they believe about them to be true, and they never change their views about them. Like who wants to be around somebody who views you in a certain light? That's very limiting. So, and that's another thing also. But first and foremost, if you have kids, please spend time with them. Because I can remember some things that, that my mom did and I really liked, and I really like, a couple of moments. I remember when we cooked for Thanksgiving, like we all got together and we cooked together as a family for Thanksgiving, and then we watched movies. That was something that was really nice that we did together. Let me see. Also when we played cards together, that was really good. So I turn around and I sit back and I see what kind of memories do I have that are good, and that's what I try to tend to focus on, because I me focusing on anything else is not, it's a detriment to me, especially going forth, and especially, I'm trying to make good memories for me and my son, and I just want to keep that going. So those are the things that I will tend to focus on. But yeah, so this is the things I wanted to talk about. Go, but let's talk about some of the good things of growing up in a West Indian household. So some of the good things is food. You do learn how to cook, right? First and foremost, you do know how to dance, right? You know how to cook, you know how to dance, you know how to do hair, you know how to braid, you know how to do a sewing, you know how to do all of those things there, right? You know how to hand wash clothes, because sometimes we got to do that. You know how to do that, right? You know how to take care of children because you have to take care of children. Also, you know how to be entertaining, right? You know how to be entertaining. You know how to be, how what they said, the gift of gab. You know how to do that, right? Also, you know how to play Orphos. Orphos is a very it's a it's the most known card game in Trinidad and one of the most funnest games. It's called Orphos, and you have high low jack game, and that's the most entertaining game I've ever played because you get involved, and it's about using your brain, and you can do math in your head, and you can check numbers. It's a really entertaining game. So those are some of the good things about, growing up in West Indian household. Some of the bad things is that sometimes you have to deal with jealousy. Number one, other number two, you have to deal with this. She's better than you, or I'm better than you, or I have this house, I got this car. I got, there's a whole bunch of stupidness like that. Things that's very irrelevant because material things could come and go. So what else did I want to talk about? I think that's about it. I remember my Facebook account. I don't know if you guys see my other video, but my Facebook account has got hacked. And as of this now, I'm probably happy that it got hacked, to be honest. Now I can start all over and I'm going to just delete that account and I don't got to message a billion people. I wouldn't say message a billion people, but my inbox will be brand new. That's some of the good things about that. So yeah, I have made amends to that and I have decided to start a new Facebook profile. It's okay. um let me see, put back on my screen. Okay, you guys, this is what I really wanted to talk about was growing up with West Indian parents, how it was. For me growing up, I was the main one in the house. I had to like cook, clean, wash dishes. I remember one time, right? I remember one time I was at my cousin's house and it was the weekend, right? And my mom came, got on the train, came and got me. She came and got me to go wash clothes. I kid you not. She got on the train, came and got me so that I could go wash clothes. And I was the oldest in the house. And I felt like that was so unfair. And a part of me wished that I would have revolted. Like I would have said no. I would have ran away. Somebody said, do you understand how your password was stolen and what measures are you taking to prevent it in the future? Well, first and foremost, I'm thinking about not having a messenger. I think that would eliminate, but I do need a messenger because I have a something else. But anyway, I am thinking about I'm thinking about not having a messenger. That's one of my things. Hey BMT, thank you for catching me while I'm live. I'm talking about growing up with West Indian parents and some of the trauma. So yeah. So back to my story. My mom came and got me. She got on the train. She came and got me from my cousin's house so I could go back home and I could wash clothes. And I was like, what, 15, 16 at the time. And I was like, oh my God, can I catch a break? Like really? Like I was the oldest and I had two brothers, one sister. And these, like, they didn't do anything. Like, what the fuck? Like, I would have to like cook, clean, manage the household, like clean up the household and do all of those things. And I did that to age of 18 until I left. Yes. Yeah. So what else? I remember that. That was like the most devastating thing. And she was got mad and cursing and all of these things. I was just like, what the fuck? Like these people think they have a hold of you. So that was one of them, right? What else? And then I look at it now, and my sister and my younger brother, they got away with like worse things. They could have got away with murder. You never know. Yes, West Indian people like to play soccer. So yeah, that's another thing that happened. I'm trying to see anything else that really happened. Mm, hmm, I do know a couple of things that happened. I do know, and I remember when I was like 12, 13 years old. I think I was in junior high school. Was I in junior high school or high school? I was in junior high school, y'all. Junior high school. Imagine being in junior high school. My son is 10, right? My son about to go to junior high school at 11. Is it 11 to 13? Imagine being 11, 12 years old and having to cook for grown ass people in the house. Like grown ass women. And then them having to judge your cooking. And it wasn't like nobody said, you know what, you did a good job. When I was your age, I wasn't doing this. You know what, you're doing a great job. You know what? No, they was just brutal. Like I don't. So those are the things that I wish I had revolted, didn't do shit. Probably would have ran outside and came at home. Oh yes, I do remember one. I remember, well, I guess you could say like two things. I remember when I was like 5 or 6 or 7 years old, my mother came home, right? And we didn't have a key, so we was waiting outside. So the neighbor seen us waiting outside for like a half an hour, and she let us come in her house. And I think she gave us some water or something to eat. And my mother was looking for us, and she got mad and she beat us because of that. And I was just like, why would you like? And I was thinking, I understand why, because we wasn't not supposed to be at somebody's house and you were scared, but I'm like, why didn't you take, preventative measures? I don't know. A part of me was thinking about that too. Like, I felt like I got whippings for things I didn't understand why I got whippings for. That's another thing. I remember one time we was living in Brownsville, and we was living in a brownstone, and it was cold as hell outside, like cold, like brick. Like, the winter time it gets brick outside. Like it was like -10 degrees outside. And I had walked home from school, and it was like a mile long walk. And I'm walking by myself. I think during the ages when I was like 4 or 5, all the way up to 4 or 5, all the way up to when I was like 10, nobody really watched us. I swear, I couldn't remember anybody sitting down and actually sitting there watching us, except for my cousin. She watched us here and there, but she was toxic too. But anyway, so nobody really watched us. Like we was like crazy kids that did whatever we wanted. Like nobody watched us, but then we would get whippings for like, and we would be like, why are we getting whippings if nobody told us we're not supposed to be doing that? But anyway, I was coming home from school and it was -10 degrees outside. So I'm walking down. I get to the brownstone to the door. I'm knocking the door. I'm trying to open. I'm trying to like, bang on the door, let them know I'm downstairs. I was like, what, like 7 years old at the time. I was really skinny. And I'm just like banging on the door because I'm trying to get in and it's cold. Nobody was coming to the door, and I was waiting for like 10, 15, 30 minutes to an hour, yelling, screaming, doing all of that. And then my cousin, she was dating this guy at the time, and he was like a block or 2 blocks away. So I went and I started walking down there to see if maybe I could stay there, maybe they could get in contact with somebody, because I can't get into the building, and I'm just trying to get into the building because I'm not that's the way I'm supposed to be when I come home from school. And I remember I couldn't get in there, so I walked there and then I walked back to the house, and I got a whooping for that. I got a whooping because they didn't know where I was, and I was supposed to be outside, but it was cold as hell outside, and I'm yelling and screaming, and nobody wouldn't open the door. I remember that like it was yesterday, and that happened like a couple of times. And I remember getting a whooping with an extension cord, and that shit hurted. But yeah, that was, you know what? After looking at all of that, some things I wish, my mom would have did. I wish my mother would have, been more selfish with her and her kids, been more selfish with herself, to be honest. I think women need to be more selfish and be more happy. Because if you are happy within yourself, you can, if your cup is full, you're able, to spill over and pour some into other people's cup. But she didn't have it to give, so but now I understand. So yeah, that was one of those memories. Probably have a lot of traumatic memories, but I don't want to go through them. So anyway, so we talked about that. So next thing I want to talk about, so how do you overcome all of these things? Let's say you did grow up with this trauma through your parents. Let's say you're dealing with it now. I know a lot of people that are dealing with this type of trauma now, maybe something that their parents imposed on you, and now you got to figure it out and try to deal with it. How do you overcome this? Hmm. Hold on. So I was thinking the same thing. How do you overcome this, right? And the best way to overcome this, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's there is a mantra called Ho'oponopono, and it's an Hawaiian mantra, and this one really works, right? All you need to do is say I'm sorry, you know? So you apologize to yourself, you apologize to your parents, you apologize to whoever hurt you, right? And then you say please forgive me, right? Because they need to forgive you. You just say it out, and just send it out, and you should probably get it back. And then you say thank you. Thank you for your forgiveness. Thank you for the things that you have done. You know, of course, some of the things they probably hurt you, but they probably did some things to help you, and you became strong through it all, right? And then you say I love you. So I love you. You know, you love yourself, you love the people, you love the universe, and you say I love you. So this mantra has been really helpful, you know. This has been the most helpful mantra for me is I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. So just imagine you're gonna walk around with all of this trauma on you, and you're gonna dump it out on somebody. You're gonna get pissed off one day, and somebody's gonna get it, you know. But to avoid all of that, you can say this mantra, you know? And then obviously, I feel like if some people is just annoying and some people just need to have it. You just gotta tell some people off just so that you don't carry that on to you. Another thing you can do is you can write a letter to yourself. You can write a letter to yourself stating about how the things that you have went through, the things that you have overcome, what are you looking forward to, what you can promise yourself. That's a very good way. And all of this is just shadow work. It's not really talked about, but the last thing you want to do is go around in these spaces or go around in life and just being a mean, upset person that nobody wants to talk to. Nobody wants that. I don't want to deal with anybody like that. And it doesn't, nobody is going to be attracted to that. People are attracted to people who feel secure, who are open, who are loving, who are able to understand, you know? Those are the traits that people are attracted to. People feel safe. They want to open up. They don't feel like they're under pressure. They don't feel like, you're a ticking time bomb. So again, so the mantra is I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. Another thing that you can do, another powerful, very, very, very powerful thing you can do is you can do a cord cutting ceremony. A cord cutting ceremony. And basically what you're doing is you're going to take two candles. I would rather it be a white candle and a black candle. And what you're going to do is you're going to light the candles, right? But first, before you light them, you need to charge the candles before you even do anything. So you want to charge the candles. And what you do before you light a candle, you want to take the candle in the palm of your hand, because you yourself, you have energy and you want to put your intention into the candle. So you want to take your hand and you want to rub the candle with your intention. Whether the black candle is going to represent, all of the trauma and the things that you want to let go. You want to let go of ex-partners, if you want to let go of anything in that situation, generational curses, things like that. If you want to let those things go, you want to take the candle and you want to rub your intention into the candle. So you want to rub the candle and obviously transfer that energy into the candle. That's what a charged candle is. And you can do that with anything. If you want to charge something, let's say you want to create some lucky water, you want to create some lucky potion, you want to create some lucky perfume. You will want to take whatever you want and you will want to pour your intention into it. The longer you pour your intention into it, the more stronger that candle is going to burn, the more stronger your intent is going to be, you know? But it doesn't just stop at one candle. You need to do the candle and you need to say your affirmations. Say the Ho'oponopono affirmations for about 10 days and see how light you feel. And that's what it's really about. You need to charge your candles, right? The black candle is going to represent everything dark from the past, the trauma, the exes, soulmates, twin flames, anything that you have, you want to rub that into the candle and you want to detach because you want to be free. You want to be able to be light. And when you're light, you got to be light in burdens. You got to be light in trauma. You got to be light in those things so you're not carrying it around. And the best way to know if you have trauma and things around is to look at your household. Is your house cluttered? Is your house full of things? Do you have too much stuff? What are you not getting rid of? So these are the questions that you must ask yourself before. These are the questions you have to ask. So when you're rubbing those candles, those are the intentions that you're putting in. Well, and then with the white candle, you're going to put in all the positive energy. You want to put in how much you love yourself, how you're letting go, how you're ready, to move into this next step in your life. You want this abundance, you want this peace, you want this serenity. You want to pour that into the white candle. And obviously, you need to dress your candles. So you can dress your candles with olive oil, which is number one preferred, but you need to dress your candles with any oil. There's different types of oil. There's even oils for magic that you can use. There's High John the Conqueror oil. There's money oil. There's all these different kind of oils. But you can just be basic and use olive oil. What's most important is your intention. You need to have a strong intention when you do this. So yes, cord cutting ceremonies, they do work. Magic in general does work, it works. But you need to put your intention, you need to put your belief, you need to focus and put your all into it. And this cord cutting ceremony is very powerful. You will feel the effects right away. So yeah, those are some things that just turn around and look at your life, how things are going. Look at your house. Do you have too much clutter? Do you have too much things going on? Do you need to throw some of these things out? What are you holding on to that you can't get rid of? So those are some of the questions. You never want to have a cluttered house. But if you have a lot of stuff, I understand, but it all needs to be put away because I have a lot of stuff. But it's not cluttered to the point where, like some places just like, oh my God. I just think about how cluttered somebody's house is, how much things that they're holding on to, what kind of pains and traumas that they're not letting go. Why do they feel that they need to have all of these external things? So yeah, this is some techniques that you guys can use, to help rid yourself, of some of these traumas, generational curses, or things that you have picked up unknowingly. And sometimes we don't know that we have generational curses. But, sometimes this is some real stuff. Generational curses is real. Because I'm going to just give you guys an example. Right? So even though I joined the military, right? I left home, joined the military, and I had my son, right? And unknowingly, I left my son with my mom, and I kind of was doing the same thing that she was doing when I was younger. She was leaving me with any and everybody, right? And she would go on and go about her business, right? And I was unknowingly doing the same things. And then I was kind of unknowingly getting into the same partnerships, or you can say partners, that the same type of men that she was dating, I was kind of getting into that. So I had to stop and do a reflection too. So these things are real. I mean, they can unknowingly happen to you, unknowingly, because you have gotten so accustomed to the feelings, so accustomed to the life that you it becomes normal to you. You don't really see the relevance. But yeah, this is what I really wanted to talk about because it was, this was on my heart, and I know a lot of people are dealing with this. They're dealing with traumas from when they were younger. They're dealing with these things, and sometimes it's hard for them to make a way out of their life today. It's really hard, you know, very hard, and I could relate to that, So this is why I really wanted to make this video. I hope somebody got something from this. If you want to change your life, you can. You don't have to carry these things with you, first and foremost. And if you have children, please appreciate your children for who they are and what they're doing. And speak life into your children, especially your girls. Because at the end of the day, the only person that you're going to run and you can rely on is your girl children. Always, all the time. If you're going to always rely on your girl children, why not pour into them? Why not make sure that they are secure? Why not give them the best? Why not, make sure that their path is clear? Why not do those things for them? Why not make them feel special? Because at the end of the day, when you need something, when you need to call on somebody, who are you going to call on to? Who is most reliable? It's always the woman. And this is no offense to any guys who are on here. I know guys can be reliable, but most of the time people rely on who? Their moms, their grandmothers, their wife, their sister. They always rely on the woman. And we should pour into our woman. So yeah, this is your girl, Creative Solutions. I came on here to talk about trauma and how we can all be going through it unknowingly and how it can shape us, especially going with our parents and dealing with their traumas. And yeah, let me say before we get out of here, I wanted to play a song. If you was in here before, you probably know the song that I wanted to play that I played earlier. And the song I played was by Teddy's son John Alice. Is a Trinidad artist, and it's a good song. It's all about moving forward. Okay, BMT, I'm not even going to entertain you right now. You and your comments right now. Yes, West Indian women, they like to dance. Everybody likes to dance. Dancing is normal. I don't know what is this whole big thing about dancing. That's normal. And that should be normal, especially if you grew up in a West Indian household. Everybody dances. That's something that's. We're the life of the party. We're the life of the party. We're the life of the party. Okay, I'm gonna play my outro and see you guys.